Okay, we're live. Always happy to have Dust and Martin with us, and maybe Josh joining on Dust's couch. Is that possible? What do you think, Dust? There's a
So.
50-50 chance. He's been arriving quite a lot. Josh is always good to have. He's got his different opinions. Everybody's got these slightly different opinions, which makes these conversations really interesting. So what do I do here? What do we do here every Saturday morning? Is we come at different social and big issues in the attempt to provide some solutions. I'm a Muslim. My approach is to provide happiness ideas based on Islam for non-Muslims, so you can be non-Muslim and still practice them, or to some whatever extent you can while not being a Muslim. I like encouraging discussions between people of very different opinions without people hating.
Interrupting.
That kind of stuff. Just being interrupting, giving each other the space to
just
talk.
like I did.
Yeah, but at least we give each other the time to talk, and we listen to each other, and we're smiling and not strangling each other like some people do in Speaker's Corner. Do you know what I mean? So that's an intro to what we're doing generally here. I've already given an intro about who I am. And by the way, you're definitely seeing it on my channel. Anyway, go on. So, Dust, do you want to go next?
Well, yeah, absolutely. My name is Mr. Dust, and I come from an angle of human rights, a world constitution, and how to understand that reality that we all sharing, and understand that reality is something that we need to let people live and grow and give them an opportunity to be creative and not only find creativity in themselves to who they are and what they are, but also maybe indulge and engage in a religious or the community or atheist or just in whatever they believe in, like say I might believe in Satanism, just believe in that and know that yes, you can engage in these ideas and concepts, but at no point should you use these to render someone else's life miserable or murder them, all in rules.
Cool. Martin, say something about yourself.
Say something about myself. Well, I've got long hair. No. My name's Martin, yes. So it's cool to be back again. It's like third week in a row. Wow, I must be doing something good. I haven't been fired yet.
What? We love you here. How can we fire you? Anyway.
I'll play some music and bust to keep my spot or something. I don't know. So yeah, I'm like really into very humanist ideas, progressive ideas. I want communities and people to be the best they can be, to grow together, for us all to express and find our strengths. It means we all get to help each other out, and obviously then everyone benefits from that. So yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about trying to go against ideas that are going to divide people, take away people's rights, take away people's human identity, and I'm all about them expressing themselves. I think this is a really good format to do it. So
cool, yeah.
Just before we start, everyone, just a quick recap for our viewers as well. We're going to get 5 minutes each, thereabouts, of course, and we are allowed to interrupt with brief statements, and then we'll keep circling until we've completed this allotted time, which is generally an hour for one topic. Though we do sometimes split that down, and then we always finish with a 1 minute conclusion where we can't interrupt. If you do interrupt, then there is the penalty of incineration.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what the penalty was. We haven't used it yet, so
I've got the button right here, Khaled.
Oh, good. But so our viewers know, I'm all the way in Jordan. I don't know how your button will reach me, but anyway, everybody else is in England. For the people who don't know,
the last guy thought the button wouldn't reach him.
Oh, okay, that's. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, he was surprised.
You were surprised. Yeah. Okay. All right. So each week, each of us come up with different topics. Last week, Martin had a great topic of why is the far right addicted to hate. Me personally, I thought it was a fantastic topic because I felt like I'm not going to do too much, but actually, I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm going to control myself. But I thought it was a fantastic topic, and I'll mention why. But Martin, go for it. Have you got the timer, Dust? You're ready to.
I've got a timer as well.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Everybody's so organized.
But
Okay.
I may well do this in under 5 minutes. Sometimes
Okay.
I go a bit short on the first one.
Cool.
Okay, so let me start my little time. Okay, so the question is, why is the far right addicted to hate? And I think the reason, to give a kind of quick kind of answer to that, is probably actually very simple, and it's because hate is an addiction. Hate is an extremely useful tool to turn people against other people, to divide and conquer communities, groups. If you want the numbers on your side for your political party, you can use your group to make up lies about another group and turn them against each other. It gets votes, it gets power. So hate is a lot easier to sell because that sells a lot quicker on the front papers. It gets a lot more clicks because you don't necessarily have to think about it. You just react, and that's what they want you to do. Is to just react to that group over there. They're coming to take your jobs. They're going to come and take away all your money or whatever. It doesn't require you to maybe think logically or rationally. It just needs you to impulsively react and go, oh, no, I don't want them to take my stuff. But so it's like a very easy tool that drives division, that then destroys a community. And the more divided we are, the less we are able to stand together and look back at the far right, that kind of group, and go, hang on a minute, I didn't hate these people over here. Why are you encouraging us to do that? There's and obviously there's reasons behind this. The drive to divide people, the addiction to sort of keep people divided and keep destroying, is because there's money to be made out of this. The more you divide people, you can make there's money to be made, and money leads to power. And anyone that's ever got any significant degree of power never gives it up very easy, ever. Trump being an example. So the far right use that tool. It's addictive because it's extremely useful to them, and it has worked over and over again. I recommend. So sorry, I got a really good book here. This is called. It's called. Can you see that? Fascism: A Warning. This is a very good book. This has got really great examples of how certain ideas crept in and then became normal so terrifyingly fast. And it will come back to what I just said, that it's hate, it's an addiction because it really works. And we are seeing it right here in this country, because I literally looked at the front paper the other day, and I literally far right language printed on the front of the paper, and no one seems that bothered by it. Everyone's just
Give me an example. I'm just trying. What is far right language?
So, Suella Braverman, if I've said that right, quoting and saying things like multiculturalism is somehow a bad thing, or the language she's using is directed to attack desperate human beings escaping war and poverty and trying to seek shelter and help in our country, which we should obviously help, because those people are escaping a war which the far right have made their money out of. So I think we owe them some help. Just on a human level, we owe them help, regardless of the politics. There's, so she is literally on the front page saying that and not getting called up for it. It becomes acceptable. And for me, Donald Trump is a big example of this, and the language he used. He was literally straight up on TV being far right, almost Sieg Heiling on the screen, and still he turned up to work the next day. It should have been disgusting. He should never have had another day in any moment of power, but he was still there. What does that tell you? He used the tools that I just said, the addiction to hate, the tool of using division to drive communities apart, and that's what he done. And we're seeing that happen here. It happened with Boris, and we're seeing that continuing to happen here because he opened a Pandora's box, and that's open now. Doesn't mean we can't turn it back, but it is clearly open. And I'm going to pass it over because I've just crossed over 5 minutes. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you.
You can finish your sentence.
No, that's okay. That's where I leave it, and then you guys contribute, and then if I feel like there's something else I wanted to say, then just something I didn't think of.
Well, I think we should go clockwise. I think that's common sense. So that means Khaled.
Cool. I just wonder sometimes if we're seeing the same picture, the same order. That's all. But yeah. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Martin. I was making notes and even adding to my spiel, as it were, about things that the far right get up to. Okay, so as a Muslim, I like to take my guidance from the Quran. So let's say the Bible of Muslims. It's the scripture, it's the rule book of life, and anybody can follow if they want. So I'll start with this. Is it worth me sharing the screen? I will be okay. Whatever I write is my script, as it were. I always put in the pinned comment afterwards in the video, so people can always read it. What do you think? Should I share the screen? Would it be more comfortable for everybody to read it? I
don't mind.
I don't mind, but I'm not a fan of it. But
all right. Since you said you're not a fan of it, I'm definitely doing it. That's it.
But I don't mind.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Is the far right? There we go. I think especially if I'm reading so much complicated text, it helps a little bit. I think this is maxed out and the width wise. Okay. There should be no, reading from the Quran, there should be no compulsion in religion. Surely right has become distinct from wrong. So whoever refuses to be led by those who transgress and believes in Allah has surely grasped a strong handle which knows no breaking, and Allah is all hearing, all knowing. And you might be wondering how that connects to, you'll see shortly now. So I'll start off with this. The far right is as hateful as the far left. It is common for the far left to be hateful of religious people, even though the religious are statistically the most charitable and more involved in long-term community service. Both the left and right are at fault at refusing to see the logic behind the good actions of either side and simply labeling them as hateful. Islam has attributes of both the freedom from oppression of the left and the moral red lines of the right. It does not need to compel people through force to follow its virtues, as they are self-evident truths, if you were to follow the facts. Both the far right and the left and the right have the need to compel others to obey them. The left by pushing LGBT on school children, blocking roads with the Stop Oil campaign, anarchist vandalism by the Occupy movement, etc. And the right with individuals incited into hate crimes such as the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand 2019, corporate slavery, and the war machine killing millions. Other than that, the far right are vocal against the LGBT indoctrination, which results in genital mutilation and chemical castration of children. The far left ignore this physical violence against children and label that these logical arguments of the right as hate and even call it violence, just their arguments. Both the left and the right suffer from the shaky principles that cannot face the test of logic, which makes them feel the need to enforce their beliefs on others as they do not have the confidence that logical argument will convince people of their beliefs. Islam teaches that its teachings are self-evident, an unbreakable belief that can be relied on. Even if people do not follow it, God is all-hearing, all-knowing, and it is not for us to judge people with our limited knowledge, but to simply offer the truth to whoever will take it. So that's my argument.
Were you given this text to read out, Khalid?
I wrote it this morning.
You wrote that.
Yeah.
So
why would you say that?
I'm just
Why would
making
you?
sure.
Oh, okay. Go.
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure
Sure.
that where your information is coming from. So
Sure.
Stop Oil. How that oil companies are causing child deaths across the world. So how is that a bad thing to stop child death?
Well, I should have explained. They're the ones who are sitting in front of cars and stopping people going to work and ambulances going to hospitals and things like that. So my point was they are enforcing their will on other people. And that's not, you can't argue against that. They are enforcing their will on other people.
They're forcing the will to stop
their will, yeah.
Stop companies from murdering children all over the planet. Isn't that the will of a God? Shouldn't God, your God, be therefore on the side of just stop oil?
Well, that's assuming Stop Oil. Oh, just assuming Stop Oil are correct.
Well, you are aware oil companies commit war and genocide.
They can provide the oil, yes. They're not necessarily the same company. They can be. Who knows?
If you Google oil companies through history, they have supported far right governments across the world, and those far right governments have indulged in torture, rape, mass murder, and
profit and power,
and destroyed most of the destroyed children, killed children, families for the pursuit of this consumerism. Would you like to respond to that question?
You mean your comment that the far right?
My comment, my statement.
I would say more people are being killed by socialist countries like China, for example, and Russia, which is millions more.
So you don't deny that they do kill children then?
Who? The far right countries.
All companies.
All companies.
You don't deny that?
I don't know if they do it directly, but they might do. They're not particularly good companies. They put profit over people's needs. But there are good oil companies, I imagine, like the ones in Norway that invest all their money back into the country. So different kinds of oil companies.
Yeah, well, that's moral socialism, moral capitalism we're talking about.
So that's why I don't go for blanket statements. Yeah.
Thank you, Khalid. That was very enlightening.
Thank you. I'll put that.
Right. So thank you, Martin, as well, for your saying as well. I may actually cover some points that you've brought up already.
That's okay.
But the first and most obvious point is nobody is born with hate. Khalid wasn't born hating people with tattoos or tattoos. He had no opinion of those things. And then he was educated. By the way, just for the viewers, one of our topics will be tattoos in a moment. And then he was educated to hate, I'd imagine, though hopefully he will say he loves them, maybe.
I love them. My statement is I love everybody. I don't hate anybody. That's why I've been trying to explain in the last my comments just now.
We'll look forward to that in the next thing. So no one's born with hating women and having seen women being independent and creative and expressing their sexuality. No one's born with hatred of gay communities and sex education. No one's born with these things. They are instructed by the far right in what shall refer to as an Abrahamic religions. No one's born with hatred of human beings that are loving and caring and growing in a community and developing and sharing resources with each other. These things are installed into the far right, these Abrahamic religions, like Tommy Robinson, pseudo-atheist Steve. They were brought up in a world that's deeply Abrahamic in their background, deeply impoverished, and deeply rooted in the idea that the only conclusion to living each day is by repressing free speech, repressing human beings that don't look like them, act like them, feel like them. And as Martin was saying, hate is cheap. It's so powerfully cheap because all you got to do is print a newspaper showing who to hate today. All you got to do is your religious leader standing in front of you saying, we've got to hate that group there, we've got to hate this group here. But what's very hard, what's very complex, what takes time, what takes energy, understanding and thought is to love people. That is profoundly hard because we need a culture and a society around us, supporting us, that enable us to see people that are different from us, visit other countries, not just to go on their beach and get a suntan, but to go to these different communities across the world. That's what our schools should be doing. They should be sending children out to other parts of the world constantly and regularly each year so that they embrace different communities and learn different communities. But that takes time, that takes money, that takes wealth. But that wealth invested into human beings guarantees one thing. It guarantees that wars can't happen, guarantees that people like Khalid don't have to live in fear or have security fences around his mosque, which in the UK that is. I'm not referring to the one where he may be going to now. I've not seen that. They don't have to have that. But unfortunately, the far right disappear in that world. In that world, they have no meaning. In that world, they have no identity. When hate is gone and replaced with love, understanding, humanity, the far right vanish. It's no more a reality than unicorns. But that, as I said at the beginning, it takes wealth, which is why Abrahamic religions mine and steal wealth from all these communities and replace it with a vacuum of nothing or hatred. This has been the repeated story over 2,500 years of history, repeating that same cycle, and each year and each day and each hour, the Abrahamic leadership has twisted your faith, your love, your humanity, your need to communicate with your neighbor, and perverted it into suffering, into poverty, into despair, and from that they guarantee the repeat of hatred. Genocide, poverty, ghettos, drugs, which far more popular when despair in the far right communities. Drugs are a necessity, and religion is a drug. All right, I have about 5 minutes 30 seconds. Anyone like to ask any questions?
I only want to make a couple of comments on what Khalid said in your paragraph that you wrote there.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Can I do that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you said, I see some of the things you said is kind of an example of what I'm saying in trying to say things that aren't true, and then trying to use that language. So when you're saying about the far left, obviously because I'm against the far right, that doesn't make me by definition far left.
Yeah.
That's a very divisive tool. by presuming that I'm against one idea that I must be part of the other group. I can sit squarely in the middle here and identify problems with both sides. To say that the far left are hateful of sort of religious people, or that sort of maybe left wing presumes that you're hateful of religious people, obviously isn't true. That's not. I'm not sure where you've got that from.
Like Satanism, for example, it's a reaction against religious people. That's what you mentioned last time.
Yeah, it's kind of like
And that religious people do so much good.
A dogmatic religion saying that you can't have rights, you can't have autonomy over your own body, etc., etc. It's a way of sort of countering that and saying, no, this is who we are, and we can be perfectly decent human beings.
No, but religion
it's
teaches you to be
not a-
charitable. Is what I mean. So why would you
Well, I mean,
ignore all the
to be
good things of
human,
religious people?
You can be human and be charitable. You can be all these things without any religion involved at all. We were doing that before we ever were introduced to a Bible or the Ten Commandments. We understand that. Another book, I reckon.
I would say Satanism is another religion.
I would have a look at this book.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
Humankind, and it's examples of us being extremely kind humans. No need for a Bible at all, or any holy book. To say so, when I'm criticizing a religion, the Abrahamic religions, it's not. As I was having a conversation with someone on the high street just the other day from a local church group, he presumed that I hate him, and I was like, I don't hate you because you're an individual. I don't like the theology of your religion, Abrahamic religion. That's what I'm in disagreement with. But the people are individual people, and not every one person within that religion has exactly the same ideas. They all have interpretations of that book. So I can't hate the individual. It's the theology that I have issues with, and what it passes down to people. Obviously, again, I'm sure you're aware that lots of secular people help do charity work, help the homeless. Satanic Temple in America does that. Lots of people. That's just a human thing. We can take the religion away from it. That's a human thing. We see, we have empathy, sympathy. Even I think it's mice can see the sadness in its fellow companion. It can see another mouse in desperation and feel like elephants show empathy when other animals die. But that's a natural. It's part of our nature. It's to think that
Evolution.
Yeah, evolution. To think that's sort of like exclusive to someone that's believing in a god or has read a certain passage in a holy book. That's nonsense. Sorry, but that is absolute nonsense. You look at the science of that and human nature. Those are just us. Those good things are just us, and there's something bad about having pride in that or celebrating that. That's not a bad thing. The idea that the far left or schools are pushing LGBT onto children, again, this is something that's been fabricated out of nowhere. And this is what I mean by the far right, with the way they sell lies. It's really easy because they can use that tool to then get you to go and hate the LGBT community, which are not deserve of any hate at all in any way, shape, or form. It's not being pushed on children. You're just trying to teach children about other people. It's about learning about other people and trying to understand how they feel about the world and how they're going through the world. Because the earlier you learn about maybe what it means to be a transgender person, as you grow up and as you may meet someone that fits into that category as you grow up through life, there's no reason to be fearful or attack them. You can start to understand that person. And the more understanding we have of each other, the better we can help each other to all get through this confusing experience, which is life. But that's how we get through it, is to help each other understand, because we're all part of the same team at the end of the day, human. So the idea that that's being pushed on children, it's just not true. It's obviously not true. There's educating kids and as they grow up, teaching them about different things, religions, all different sorts of things, but it's not being pushed on them. You have religious schools that push it on children, but a normal regular school, we don't push it on children. And sort of this sort of comment that you said about vandals, putting vandals and anarchists with protests in the same group, they're completely different people. And this is another tool, I will wrap up, another tool of the far right to attack protesters, to try and put people walking down the street with a banner saying "Stop Oil," to put them in the same category as someone that's decided to smash a window in or burn a car or whatever.
So there's two separate
They're
things. So
different people.
the stop oil is people sitting in front of stopping cars moving, is what I meant.
Yeah.
And the
That's
vandals
fine.
are the
Not
anarchists and the
hurting anyone.
the ones who smash windows. So I'm not talking about the people who are peacefully protesting.
Okay. I
Yeah.
just thought there's the papers like to put them in the same category, and I think that's another
Okay.
a way of dividing people and trying to attack a person for expressing their right to protest, which is what every human being has and should have.
No. Yeah.
As long as you don't
yeah,
use violence to achieve your goal, then you are free to protest in any peaceful way
Agreed.
you see fit.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. As long as you're not causing disturbance, which is
That
what
is the
stop.
purpose of a protest. It's
Yeah, but
cause
stop. But what
disturbance
happened?
so that
Do
people
you call it
what-
disturbance if stop oil are blocking roads?
It is a disturbance, but it's
Okay,
fine.
so you're against it.
No, I'm fine with them. Stop. They're not using violence, are they?
But they're just. But I thought okay, so you're okay with disturbance as in stopping people, ambulances going to hospitals and
I
people
don't.
they
going
let
to work.
I
ambulances
don't think
through.
they're stopping ambulances
They
going
don't
to
do that.
hospital. Remember that when the when the king got his new hat, they stopped all the roads. That was okay, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That was acceptable. But when people protest,
Oh, his new hat.
they-
Sorry, his crown. Sorry, I
this
got it now.
planet that we're on
Yeah.
is burning, and we don't want to die on this planet. We'd like our planet to live a bit longer so our kids get to breathe clean air and have a happy life. Then that's why can't they do that? It's your right to protest is extremely important, and the far right and groups like that would like to take that away from you, and they will actively try and take it away from you. They'll do it overnight quietly, because if they'd done it in one go, then people would be annoyed and say something. But if they do it quietly, one little law at a time, one little bit of power at a time, then before you know it, you won't be able to even stand on the street with a banner. You'll be pulled and arrested straight away. That's not freedom. That's North Korea. That's not a nice place to live. So there you go. Sorry, over to the next person.
Can I respond to some of those?
Yeah,
Those good points.
Go for it.
Okay, so the main point I think was people are kind without religion. So that's, you can argue, easily show that's not true. One is that you've joined a religion called Satanism. It's a school of thought. You can call it religion, or you can just call it school of thought. Why is there a need for grouping and organizing yourself? You've just disproved your own point by saying that. Generally, you can see as godlessness or secularism is increasing, has made people more selfish, and you can demonstrate that by the increase in loneliness in the West. LGBT is not being pushed, is what you said. So first of all, I agree with your very good statement, which is we are on the same human team, and I agree with that. Generally speaking, I've been taught as a religious person from my religious upbringing, love for all and hatred for none. And that's a very famous phrase from my Muslim community that I belong to, so known all around the world. It is being pushed, though, because the LGBT group or people of that persuasion are a minority, and it's being taught as a truth in all schools. So it's a minority ideology being pushed on the majority. So that's by definition being pushed. And it's not called hate. That's a way of sidestepping logical arguments. It's proven to be dangerous, as I mentioned in the beginning, chemically castrating children permanently and all sorts of dangerous surgery. We
No
should
one's
be talking
castrating
about it.
children. That's an absolute lie.
Okay, cool. That's what you claim. People can search the internet themselves.
No one's castrating children.
The
That's an
biggest,
absolute lie.
clinic doing these treatments had to be shut down in London. What's it called? Tavistock, yeah, clinic. 1,000 people who've had those operations and treatments suing them. So obviously, lots of people disagree with you, Dust. Not
It's a
allowed.
lie.
Yeah. Yeah, and just about the oil thing, it's worth mentioning. So I could understand your point of view if really the Earth was going to be destroyed tomorrow, whatever, because of the oil situation. But as I've explained on our stream before, oil is actually a natural product, from living organisms called the dinosaurs and other plants, and oil basically is carbon trapped, and carbon creates life. So when we had 10 times, or even, was it at least more than 10 times more carbon in the air, we had way more life. We had the dinosaurs. You supported huge animals. So this is just a natural process. We're releasing that though that carbon is being a lie that's been perpetuated, that carbon is going to destroy the world. No, actually, it's going to create more greenery, and it is. And not only that, if we stopped oil straight away, it's the poor that will suffer. It's just rich countries that are saying we should stop oil because they will probably feel the repercussions less. But basically, it would create a situation, people should research this, where poorer people would have to depend more on wood fires and then suffer from wood poisoning of wood fires in their houses. So there's a lot of dangers that people pushing this idea should be careful of, so poorer people don't suffer because of their ideas. So that's some of my responses. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just going to say that let's try and keep it on to why did the far right hate?
Okay, because the far left are making up stories and calling it hate when it's actually logical a lot of the time. But sometimes they do bad things as well. But we shouldn't just put it all on the blanket thing of this calling it hate, when we should be open up. We should be loving enough to actually listen to other people and not just call it hate and go, oh, okay, I can see my logical. Like, I keep telling people like Dust, that religious people do lots of nice things. And my question to Dust is, who's somebody on the left, is why does Dust spread hate against religious people?
So, because you believe that the God you have in your mind is telling you what's right and wrong, doesn't mean in the real world that you can act upon that imaginary reality that you've created in your head.
So you're justifying your hate.
What I'm saying is that we should use what you occasionally, constantly, let me start the timer, is we should use facts, not beliefs, where you make your beliefs a fact because you have messages talking to you, have voices in your head telling you that your belief is an actual fact, where a fact is something that's measurable, and you've never demonstrated that you care about what's measurable, but you have demonstrated constantly what is a belief, which is reinforced by the voices in your head. And I have no issues with that. But oddly enough, your voices in your head are telling you to hurt people, and telling you to hurt people.
Which people? I'm telling people not to hurt people. It's called chemical castration and genital mutilation. That's hurting people. And I'm saying, stop it.
No, you're not. You don't care about people, Khalid.
All right.
And
just stop listening to the voices in your head.
You've proudly said you believe in a dictatorship. You proudly said you like psychopaths. and psychopaths have no emotional empathy with other human beings whatsoever. And then
They have
on the
some.
other, and then you claim on the other hand, oh yeah, I do care about people, but you have said, and I like your honesty, that you are a psychopath. And people like Andrew Tate, people that believe in viciousness, people that believe in-
Psychopaths are known variances in human beings who have less need to follow the masses. That's what, if you want to understand the actual definition of psychopath, it doesn't mean you kill people. I've never killed a person, I promise.
No, psychopaths don't kill people. And you're saying you don't want to follow the masses. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I don't follow the masses.
Do you not belong to a religion? No, yes,
Yeah.
you do. To answer that question, it's too ridiculous. Yes,
yeah, I follow a religion out of my own choice.
No, you. I wish that was true. But it's my 5 minutes, so
Sure.
I've interrupted 3 times, which is wonderful. But
okay, that's the limit. That's the limit. Sorry, go on.
Well, it's not the limit. It's just let's be polite. So you never had any choice. We've said this. The far right don't have choice in the communities they're brought up in. They're brought up in a monoculture. They're brought up to believe that their leaders have absolute authority over thought, over action, over sexuality, and they dictate cruelly and horrifically in schools the image of a human being should be, and it's whatever the leader looks like in that particular Abrahamic religion. And in those schools, they abuse children. In those schools, they rape children. In those schools, they have no rules whatsoever to the amount of horror that they can push onto children. And we've only just got rid of laws just recently in the UK, in the West, where religious leaders were allowed to beat the children horrendously at will and whim when humanity was being displayed, or a child was being slightly out of line or whatever. The solution is grab a big stick, hit a kid. That's their rhyme. They think that's what's shine. And you breed in violence and hatred. Khalid was never brought up. Khalid was never born with hatred. He had to be programmed like a computer, programmed to fundamentally hate virtually everything around him. When he walks through London, when he walks through England, he despises this world that he sees. And he does that not because of free will, but because the programming doesn't let him see anything else. Where love, you have to be brought up in a loving community. Khalid's never demonstrated this love. He's demonstrated what he loves, which is psychopathic. Does that say sarcastic?
Yeah, he was being sarcastic. He didn't think LGBTQ plus were great role models.
But children are going to be adults, children, human beings are going to be gay regardless of the education system that they brought in. Remember, homosexuality, sexuality existed before Abrahamic religions. But Khalid was programmed from his family, from his in Abrahamic religion teachers, that being human is a sin, being human is punishable by death, repression, hatred, and that is the reality that he now repeats. And there is no language of love in our representative of the Abrahamic religion here, and he demonstrates what many other Abrahamic people think, as instructed by their leadership. And that's Bob the Destroyer, Joseph, Big T, and what's the lady called that used to go to Speaker's Corner?
One that burns the book.
Yeah, the one that burnt the Quran. You see, no atheist has burnt the Quran. No Satanist has burnt the Quran. No Muslim has burnt the Bible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
But who has done that? Who's repressed religion? Your religion, not atheists, not a homosexual community, other Abrahamic religions. Hatton.
Thanks, Tyler.
Sorry if I can't pronounce your name. I'm dyslexic.
He's a Christian, by the way. Tayo is a
can't read.
Christian. So
I'm
Tayo
fast.
is against.
Sorry.
Tayo is a good Christian. No, I'm just making a point. You're saying that Hatun, who's a Christian, is oppressing, doing things like burning the Quran. And there's Tayo, is a good Christian who's against it. I'm quite sure that's why he's pointing it out. I think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm making assumptions. But I know Tayo. Sorry.
No, I went over time.
Oh, I see. I thought I broke my limit of interruptions again.
No. I'm just chastising myself. So I believe. Well, we've got 15 minutes left. So should we answer some questions that we're seeing below?
Okay. Well, I think this is our first main question. The other one was a comment. Oh, well, you could call it a question before. He said he was being sarcastic. Let's do it in order. So his first comment was he is saying sarcastically, which he explained here.
Yeah. Sarcasm in text doesn't come across.
Yeah. So LGBT are great role models for children. Let's go around. Who wants to go first? He's being sarcastic, saying basically not great role models for children. Who wants to go first? Go for it, Martin.
I think. Yes, they can be great role models for children because, as I said earlier, if you're growing up, you're starting to understand the world. And say you grow up in a religious household. Let's say you grow up in a household where people are all completely white, straight, whatever, and then you see people that are like, hang on, they're different to me. It's a great role model because you have a chance to learn about people that are different to you. And again, the more you are educated, the more you learn about other people, the more you can see that they are, at the end of the day, just like you. That people want to live a happy and happy life where they don't feel like their rights are taken away. If I had kids, it wouldn't bother me at all. And I think the great role models for children because it shows that even a group that are currently very much maligned, very much pushed aside, deserve to be treated as well as any other human being. It's it can show a child that even though it looks like they don't fit in, which is how we try to make the LGBTQ people feel like they're not normal, they don't fit in, by exposing children to different parts of different communities, different groups of people. Again, I'm just kind of repeating myself, but it just seems so obvious to me that the more you see things that you don't see in your normal life, the more you experience things that then become normal, the more you realize that they were normal to begin with. And gay people, transgender, it's all completely natural, and there's literally no harm to a child. Sorry, someone else can counter that as well. Yeah.
Shall I counter it? It's all right.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll kind of go in reverse, and because it's easy to remember what you just said. So, Martin was surprised that he's repeating himself about kindness. I believe in kindness, but the reason why we're having to repeat is because yourself and Dust keep ignoring the realities of the dangers of being LGBT, like the logical realities. For example, if you have two lesbian mothers as parents, where does the father go, right? And there's lots of recorded information. I'll put a link to the video about this, where people do miss their unseen parent, the unseen father. So we shouldn't disregard it. We say, like, if we want to move forward and not repeat ourselves, we say, okay, I appreciate that fact or that information. We can check if it's fact, and then I'll try to counter it. But just to ignore it and just call it hate, then we just go around in circles. That's one of the problems. And then he said, it's good to have different people like yourself, like the LGBT, Martin says. And I agree with that. It allows you to learn to be tolerant, okay? But not everything that is tolerant is good. So, drug addicts, okay, I'm not even sure if that's the best example, because I believe in being kind to drug addicts, for example. Drug addicts are part of being I don't want to go into too much, but we have to be kind to them as well, because part of their problem is the disconnection and loneliness. So I'm kind to everybody, including homosexual people, who I've had lots of very good friends who are homosexual, who have come to Muslim events and things like that. And they know I don't hate them, and they know they can understand my point of view, just a different point of view. I think we should be more tolerant of other people's point of view and understand them. Then we can move forwards and don't feel like the need to repeat ourselves. So, yeah.
Wow, well done. That's very efficient.
Sorry, Dust. You go.
I think LBG. I think there's a confusion here. I think Khaled is accidentally or deliberately trying to insinuate that the gay LGBTQ is teaching people to be gay. This is what I mean, you can confirm that in a bit, but once I finish my moment, won't be too long. That's exactly what sex education is, not teaching people to be gay, not teaching people to be transgender, not teaching people to be straight. It's just teaching people what human beings do when growing up and going through adolescence. And it's not fixed. It can change and does change. And that's why there's so many rules around transgender, by the way. You can't just willy-nilly, use that little phrase as a pun, do what Khaled is saying. I mean, that's what he was insinuating. What he directly said was an absolute lie. And that's pretty horrific. But if it's convenient for your argument, then so be it. But obviously, there are strict rules, and always have been, and always will be. You can't just wake up one day and go, "Yeah, I'm changing, done." No, the process takes years, and the process means a lot of talking, discussions, and eventually, after all that, if somebody wishes to transcend, and then there's an age limits, and all this is reality. And yeah, so I like Khaled to answer. Are you saying that sex education is telling people to be gay, when clearly that all it's doing is telling people that being human is normal? Can you confirm whether you agree with that, please?
Cool. So I agree with you, Dust, that being your sexuality is fluid, and that's actually evidence that you're not born gay. It's environmental. There's loads of evidence, and again, people choose to ignore it. And it's also demonstrated in prison numbers.
No, I wasn't saying that.
I'm not going to give you yes or no answers. Oh, by the way.
No, I wasn't. I'm just saying I wasn't saying that. So, some people are generally gay, and some people can be fluid. It's not fixed for everyone, but some people it is. Just to clarify.
So that's not an argument. That's just a claim that you made, Dust. But the evidence would be that if it's fluid, that means it's not genetic. Just like your eyes don't change color when you go to prison, for example. But homosexuality definitely increases within prison. So that demonstrates that it's not genetic at all, and it's definitely a choice or an environment. People are being educated into LGBT, as numbers of people who are in that category. I wouldn't say community, because it's not a community. It's not people who hang out together necessarily. Those numbers are rocketing, with 40% of Gen Z now labeling themselves into that category, when basically used to be next to nothing 20, 30 years ago. I can't remember the exact numbers. So definitely they're being educated into it.
Martin?
So
can you make a statement or answer Khaled, of course, and then we'll go into, I think there was another question.
So let's try and get the 5-minute thing, or just a short
just respond, please, okay, to Khaled or the question.
Well, you were just saying that people that are gay, it's a choice, and obviously it's not it's not necessarily a choice. Some, as Dust said, sometimes people are very certain in their sexuality very early on, and they go through life and perfectly happy, contributing member of society, capable of raising children just the same way anyone else is. And for some people, it's like a journey. They don't know, and they have to find it by themselves. So you want to create a community in a world where it's safe for them to find that by themselves. And the way they also do that is by meeting other people that are transgender, whatever, and you start to, you start to learn who you are, and that's an important thing to do. The idea that it's a choice, I mean, that's why would a person choose to be gay in a world dominated by far right ideas when that gay person is then going to be targeted by Abrahamic religions or far right sort of politics and ideas, because that community are often, and you can see in history, they are targeted because they're, again, hey, it's an easy group to pick on, and by another, great role models for children. You're teaching children that they're not bad people at all. They're just as natural as anyone else. So I don't think people. It's obviously not a choice, because you wouldn't choose to be you wouldn't choose to be part of a group that are then going to be attacked, possibly beaten up on the street, which is we've seen even in this country in not that distant future. And if things go a certain way, it can easily go back that way. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to respond to.
And I'll just quickly make a statement here. This is a clever little trick Khaled always tries to do with and the far right, of course. We're just recently, it's only just recently, people are not being punished and beaten and repressed for coming out as gay or coming out as bisexual. And that's the Khaled's world wishes to go back to where those people that do come out as gay or are gay are beaten into silence again. That's Khaled's idea of the Abrahamic religion's idea of dealing with the gay situation. And all that's happened just recently is now it's legal, now it's illegal to a hate crime. And it should have hate crimes everywhere to stop people like our Abrahamic representative here walking around getting his superiority rocks off on repressing people on the way they are. So I'll finish on that. I'll finish that
Sure.
section.
I'll respond to those two quickly, could I?
Absolutely. But
Okay.
we are now. I'm happy to run over time on this.
Okay, I'll do it in a few seconds. So why would anybody choose? So why would anybody choose to be gay? It's not a conscious, it's a subconscious choice by environment. That's what I mentioned before. It's an environmental thing. And sometimes it's forced in many ways. And there's definitely been linked to sexual abuse and things. These are all well known by psychologists. So we should ignore all these facts. We keep ignoring them for some reason. And also, Dust said, oh yes, I didn't quite write the note down, but you said if people are now free to come out as gay when before they couldn't. Actually, we've had that freedom for a very long time. It's only more recently that the numbers are skyrocketing. So that doesn't make sense either.
It's true. Okay, was another I think was another question. I think there was another statement that was on the screen by somebody.
Oh yes, sorry. So, that's what you meant by another question. I was thinking like another stream question. Okay. Okay. Human hate is a natural human savage state, which religion tries to change and lift man from a savage to a moral, loving person. Agreed.
Should we all give 2 minutes on this? Khaled, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure. So he's totally right. You can see
2 minutes.
Okay, cool. I'll try to make it 1 minute because we've got 1 minute left for the stream. But anyway, I'll make it short anyway. So totally agree. You can see that hate and division is increasing as society is becoming secular, and religion breaks that down and saying we're all part of the same family. And Muslims call the human family Bani Adam, which means family of Adam, creating a whole family feeling, and everybody calls each other brother and sister. You don't get that in a secular environment. So I totally agree. There's tons of evidence to support that. Thank you.
Wow, that's very efficient. Okay, I'll go there. I'll go next. Khaled's proof that that's absolutely not true. Our representative of Abrahamic religions, like Bob the Destroyer and Joseph, and all believe in division and all hate other people in their own religions that are not exactly like them. Not exactly like them. And Khaled belongs to part of a Muslim group which is hated. I mean, he keeps forgetting just how much he's hated by Muslims, does Khaled. And that is not a family. But religion is dependent on hatred to form its own identity. And it can't understand, the Abrahamic representatives don't understand what even love really is. As I said earlier, it's their idea of a human being as a psychopath, not a poet, not an artist, but a psychopath. Andrew Tate being the dream boy of the Abrahamic representatives of, and he's now transverted over to our representative over here. But he was a Christian, brought up Christian, and brought up with all that hate in Christianity. And then
he was an atheist, then Christian, then Muslim. Yeah.
No, he's brought up. His dad was a Christian. He was brought up a Christian. His dad was part of CIA and a chess player and part of the Abrahamic religion. And there's no point in his life he was an atheist.
He definitely said he's an atheist, but anyway.
No, I'm sure he did, but it doesn't mean it's true. Like when you said, anyway. Thank you, Martin.
So we're just in short little kind of statement sort of thing. So for someone that says you're about love for everyone,
love for all, hatred for none.
Love for everyone, hatred for none. I haven't seen in sort of the claims you made, or the sort of maybe the language you use, any love for everyone. And there definitely was some hatred displayed for particular members of certain communities there. So I don't to counter the religion part. So what we see in secular countries without any dominant religion is people being able to live a happy life. You still have crime like anywhere else. We know that's always going to happen in some ways. But
can I just? Is this the interrupt point? Are we allowed to interrupt in this thing?
Just let him finish.
Okay, sorry. Because people are not happy, I would say. It's the opposite. Anyway,
it's only going to be 2 minutes.
You can have a perfectly secular country, people able to still live together. What you have with Abrahamic religion is a book which has the rules on how to mistreat people. It has the biggest one, the rules on slavery, the literal rules on how you enslave a woman, children, human beings, how much you can trade them for. You cannot tell me that those religions represent love or community or bringing people together. It does not represent that, because you wouldn't write that in there if that's what you wanted to achieve. If you wanted to achieve good things for people, you would write nice commandments, nice things. You wouldn't write a book filled with slavery and genocide, war and torture, and the mistreatment of women and gay people, as we've seen in part of this conversation. So the Abrahamic religions, as far as I'm concerned, do not represent love, but they have mistreated. They've taken what's natural to human beings, which is love and community and our ability to work together, and they've tried to take that and own it, and it doesn't belong to the religions. It belongs to us as human beings. We need to remember that. There you go.
Can I correct that? I'll make one correction. There's lots of corrections I could give, but for example, women's rights. Islam gave the women right to property well over 1,000 years before England gave it, or any other Western country. So there's so many things wrong with the claims you made, but I'll say that.
Okay. Do you want to go, Dust, or is it pass round? Oh, funny.
Oh, you muted yourself or something.
Yeah, I can't. He's speaking, but I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Dust.
Hello.
Yeah, you're back. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I was just saying that I think we've all concluded. We've definitely slightly run over time. So I think we should all have our 1 minute, conclude on the subject, and I think we should answer at the end of our conclusion, please. Does the far right addicted to hate, dependent on hate? Yes or no? But you can do what you want, of course. But it'd be nice to have a conclusion. So. Yeah. I think Martin should go last because it's his talk, and Khaled, you want to go first because we'll go clockwise then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So my short answer would be both have got good points and bad points, and labeling other people's logical arguments as just hate is dodging the arguments. If we're going to make progress, we've got to listen to each other, learn from each other, rather than being hateful. As I've demonstrated, there's hate on both sides. The left hate religion, even though they shouldn't have blanket statements like that, and the right to do bad things like wars and stuff. So yeah, so hate on both sides, logic on both sides. Let's learn from each other. That's it.
You've still okay. You came in under time. Well done. All right. Yay, champion. It's me. Right. So yeah, religion hates religion more than any atheist would ever hate religion. We can go to Bob. We can go to Hattoon, just to prove that simple fact. Does the far right addicted to hate? Yeah. As I said earlier, without that, they don't have an identity because as children, they were sadly brainwashed through propaganda in schools, religious schools, to despise anything that doesn't represent their leadership, be it Muslim, Jewish, Christian. If you don't fall into that far right ideal of that, then it doesn't matter what religion you claim to be. They will hate you, even if you're the right religion. It'll never be enough, and that's the world they've created. So, and that counter that by having rules where, like, hate crime is a crime. Hate crime is a crime. I think there's a logic there somewhere, but being hateful is crime. I went 10 seconds over. Apologise, Martin. It's down to you, my man.
All right, short little one. So the question was far right addicted to hate, and I'd still say yes, of course it is, because it's going to kind of mirror what Dust said, but it needs the hate to fuel what it wants to achieve, which is division, breakdown of community, removing our humanity, making a particular group the target, whether it's religious or sexual group, whatever makes a group targeted, to the point where we see that group being hurt, maybe their rights being taken away, and we're still able to look the other way. Strangely enough, that doesn't make any sense. So the far right, it's definitely hate because that's the most efficient tool it has. From that, it can do anything. If you take away someone's humanity, you can make excuses for how you treat that person or a group of individuals, whether they're escaping war or whatever. So again, I'll take you back to this book. This is an extremely important book. It stayed with me after I read it, and it's always in the back of my mind when I'm at Speaker's Corner, because it's someone that's lived through the real experience of fascism and the far right. And as I said, to learn about what other people go through, you need to hear their story, and to use your humanity to sympathize with the horror that they've witnessed or they've experienced. And that's really important. That's the counter to that far right's addiction, is to remember our humanity. Another great tool is my guitar, because I can write songs that can bring us together. can I go a little bit over? There's one example.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
are
yeah.
going.
No, okay.
I gave you the warning about 53
Okay,
seconds
good.
ago.
I got my little timer, but I just want to do a really quick one. An example to bring music into it. I watched a clip of the Live Aid, the big concert. All those big bands, loads of big bands played. It was televised around the entire world, and the stadium was packed with I don't know how many people. It blows your mind. Each band was given 20 minutes to play. It wasn't about any one band. You each had 20 minutes. Didn't matter how big you were. You got 20 minutes. One band came on and owned the whole goddamn stadium and owned the world in that 20 minutes. And that was Queen. That was Freddie Mercury. When he walked onto that stage and he first started playing Bohemian Rhapsody, those first few notes, chills. Even now when you watch it, you get chills. You feel that. And when he's doing Radio Gaga, every person in the audience, whether you're at the front or you're right down the back, is clapping. They're all part of it. All around the world, people are tuned in, part of it. That is an incredible gift that you can use with music, because in that moment, all those people had different religions and ideas, but in that moment, they were all human. In that moment, they were all equal. They all understood something that communicated to every single person. And that's sort of a basis of what we need to remember sometimes, is that we're human. Those things that divide us are often propped up by like the far right, because they need us to hate each other, need us to go after each other and use violence against each other. And if we just remember at the base that we're human and we need to question those things and realize that there's nothing behind them. And yeah, I just, remember things like that. So yeah, there you go.
Wow, that was very passionate and powerful speech.
Thank you.
My humanity, that is impressive. I'm going to say goodbye. I think we're all going to say goodbye. I'm going to say goodbye. My name is Mr. Dust. Thank you for listening out there in the world. Thank you, you wonderful human beings, Mr. Khaled and Mr. Martin. You are extraordinarily thinking entities which have communicated beautifully in the last hour and 12 minutes. Sorry for the slight delay. My name is Dust, and I have now settled. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You've been brilliant. I put a link in for everybody in the live chat. They can click on to our next conversation about tattoos, piercings, giving us meaning we miss. That's the question. Cool. Catch you there. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Whoop, whoop.